Both of our instructors today, we have here Mahanrai Josue Sosa Herrera. He is in the education department here at Novarad. Jose has been with Novarad for 13 years, and during his time, he's worked in support, configuration, sales engineering, applications, implementation, and product education. He has a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science Tech and Software Engineering, and has an extensive background in computer engineering, software development, as well as education. Jose loves to watch historical and scientific documentaries in his free time. Our second instructor is Dina Mastorino, clinical applications trainer here at Novarad. Dina is a new addition to the Novarad team. She was a practice and PACS administrator for a national specialty radiology group where they implemented the Novarad system in 2012. Her long relationship with the Novarad system brought her to us in the spring of this year. And she says that PACS admin was her favorite part of the job, and she looks forward to sharing what she learned over that decade. Dina loves reading, creative endeavors, and time with family, fur and non-fur. All right, I will again, just a reminder, we will leave the last 10 minutes of class for any questions. We will be looking in the chat at that time for those questions. And now I will turn the time over to Josue and Dina.
Okay, thank you very much, Erica. So today we're going to talk about the RIS. So if many of you have already been this morning also and these other days hearing about PACS and other areas that we have, today we're going to introduce you or give you more information about our RIS solution. So today, this is the full RIS. So some of you may already be using our solutions, and in some cases, you might be using only our PACS and the report side for management. Others of you may be using the full RIS solution. So in different cases, some of you will only log into the PACS and will never log in the RIS, but we will show you that if you have the RIS, you can also still log in and see some of these features and how your site is managing that information and what information you have available that you might be able to use or enhance your workflow when you are also reading your procedures. So if you want to log in, you can also use your same IP address that you will have for the PACS. And the only difference is that you can use this other link that you will have just the IP address /Novaris, and it will get you into this login page. If you have by default access to both the RIS and PACS, you can use your same user and password that you are using for your other applications, and it will open the RIS page for you for the first time. In my case, it will always default for my first welcome page. As you can see, it's very short welcome page, and you will see in my top part the menu. So over the years, we have changed the look and feel. So now we are using a little bit more blue and gray colors. It's very useful. We also have redone many of the icons, hopefully to be also more visually easier to understand what you are going to be doing in many of those cases. And also as part of this one, over the time, we also have added some new pages or different forms that hopefully will make some of those very time-consuming features that you have to compare many information between maybe procedures or patients a little easier to do. So you will see many of those during today's class. So we hope that you will be using this one. So now I'm going to give time to Dina, so she will start showing you some of the admin features.
So we're going to begin with going over a handful of the admin features that are available to you. One of the reasons why I think that's important, is whether you're a new user. These are all going to be admin roles that you would have access to these features of the system. But as you use the system over time, I found that I wasn't always looking this deeply into the system. And so a reminder that these features are available can help you use the system more fully. I always wanted to use the entirety of the RIS and PACS system to benefit my workflow. And sometimes just having these quick reminders about what's out there will trigger something and help you find a way to make things easier in your practice, which is what we all want. So we're going to start first with the alert configuration. So the alert configuration, there's 4 categories that are in the RIS system. Contraindications, that one's already open. Insurance pre-authorization, CPT code prerequisite alerts, and then CPT code dependency alerts. So each of those are set up so that you can choose and customize for what works for your particular facility or practice based on the procedure status. So how long into your workflow do you want those alerts to show up? So contraindications, we mostly think of those in terms of clinical contraindications, things like allergies or metal for MRIs. But we've also seen customers use this particular field for any kind of almost like a custom field. For instance, don't let the patient leave until the physician's been called, so that that alert shows up for that particular patient through the workflow. So if that was the case here, like there was an allergy or an aneurysm clip, you can choose to have that particular alert show up through the start of the scan. So we would unclick any of the statuses that happened after the patient arrived to actually have their pictures taken at the beginning of the study. So we could keep patients screened and scheduled and arrived and checked in. And then the alert would halt. And then we would click save. And each of these is also going to have a reset button in case you click something you didn't mean to, which is a great feature when you're doing things distracted, as most of us have done in healthcare. There's a million things going on. So changes saved, that confirms it. Insurance pre-authorization alerts. So if you want the alert to show up only in the scheduled area, you would unclick the rest of those if you wanted it only to show up during the scheduling part of the workflow. So you can customize these. You'll have to think through what makes the most sense for your facility and then choose that. And then CPT code, both of those are driven by the code. So if your codes are loaded into the RIS system, that would be where that was located. And then there are things that would have clinical requirements that need met before the study is completed for prerequisite and dependency. So those are the alert configurations, the location for those, and how they would get set up. So the next admin tool that we're going to take a look at is changing patient IDs. So this is going to be unique to the circumstances, again, of your facility. So if during manually entering a patient because the work list wasn't working correctly, the patient ID was mistyped, this would be the place that you could go to correct that. So we're just going to quickly show you how you would make that change. So you would add the patient ID in there that you were looking for that was incorrect. And you would choose that by clicking on the arrow. And then you would go down to the bottom. You would confirm this is the correct patient. One of the things that we would caution about several of the features, because they're admin-only functions, that just for HIPAA reasons, you'll want to double check that you intend to do this in the way that it's shown. Just double checking is much easier than having to fix some of these actions. It's not irreversible, but it is complicated to sometimes fix them if you've done them incorrectly. So it is better to do it right the first time than to spend too much time trying to fix it later. So you can change it to a different patient ID. In this particular area, you can also change patient group. And most of the facilities that we work with at Novarad are only one patient group facilities. The group that I came from, we had a different patient group for every customer that we dealt with. So we had 25 different patient groups. And so we would load a CD in from another facility, and we would have to change the patient group in addition to the patient ID. And it won't allow you to change it to a number that already exists in a patient group. So if I had tried to change this to 1008, it's going to tell me here at the top, it's going to send me a message and say that that patient ID already exists in this patient group. So it's not going to let me change that. So it's going to force me to change to a number that doesn't already exist. I'm going to click on save, and you can see the successful message at the top that it was successfully changed. So it's a simple process as long as you know exactly what direction you're going in with the change. The next feature on the admin dropdown is color code configuration. Just a reminder that these are universal changes because this is under the admin function. So these are going to be changes that everyone sees across the board. So this isn't a specific change for just a user. This will appear for everyone. So there's two places to make changes to the colors, backgrounds and handlebar. And just to have a reference point for what those are, the background is this light blue. The handlebar is that small area to the left. So you'll already see some differences. Most of the handlebars are dark blue, and we have a background that's yellow and a handlebar that is red. So go over and take a look again. So background, procedure status is marked here. Each of the statuses can be changed to a different individual color. You can see, I think these are the same color. So you can change them all to the same color, or you can have individual ones that you want to point out or you want to pop out to your staff as a different color. You have to figure out what will work best for your facility. Obviously, there are several in here that have no background color at all. So you'll have to think through what works best for how you are using the scheduling. The second area of background requires pre-authorization, and that's either got a color or it doesn't. So you can choose something that this one doesn't have a color chosen for it. So you can choose a color to activate that particular feature to draw attention to it. But again, making sure that it makes sense. You don't want it to conflict with something else. And the note here at the top in that same vein is that stat overrides all the colors. So you don't want, stat will show up as red. So you can't change that. It's just going to override. So choosing red would probably not be a good idea. Handlebars also have procedure status choices. You can see all of these have the dark blue, except for two particular areas, schedule locks that are not dark blue for the handlebar or scan verified. So if we wanted to change those to the dark blue, you could choose them for the defaulted colors. You could also, if you know the hex code, you could change that so that it matches. And then it also has prerequisite, requires pre-authorization. That one has a color. That one's been logged as a color, and then requires attention, which we'll be going into a little bit more whenever we go over scheduling. If that is a field that you all will be using and you've marked a check in the checkbox there, you can choose a color for that handlebar so it draws additional attention in that area. So you can save here, or again, the option is given to reset back to default. Okay, we are going to skip a few of these and pop down to merge physicians. Merge physicians was an area I spent a lot of time in because our database for our doctors was created by technologists that were in outside facilities. And so we ended up with a lot of duplicate doctors because they were not querying before they added. New technologists were in and out, and so we often had a lot of bad data in our physician profiles. So we're going to take a look over here. What would happen is we would come across duplicate doctors as we were just reviewing day-to-day activities and trying to do QAs. And so we would go over to records and physicians and look them up by name to find things like this, where a single doctor name had 4 different entries. So we're going to take a look here, and I'm going to edit this doctor. We had a lot of doctors entered into our system accidentally as radiologists. So when I do that, you'll see here that referring physician says no. When you have a doctor that's a radiologist, you can't merge that together with a physician that's a referring doctor. The system won't let those two be merged together. So that column shows under records and physicians. It does not show in merged physicians. So you can get stuck at that point if you don't recognize that the doctors are added as radiologists. So those are all listed as referring doctors now. So we're going to go and choose first. I did that kind of fast. I'm going to go back and show you again. What we're doing here is we're just adding the profile we want to be the primary profile that is going to be kept for this doctor. So I'm searching, and I'm just going to pick the last doctor. I'm going to confirm here it is a referring physician. And then I'm going to add the physicians that I want to merge together. We very frequently had 3 or more doctors to merge together. It probably would have taken us a long time to clean it all up. I'm going to choose these 2 because this last one has a different location or a different practice name, practice 2, and a different fax number. So I don't want to merge those together because I'm only choosing to merge together the doctors that I know for sure are this exact same area. So I'm going to add those. And I'm going to click on merge. And again, we have the reset in case we change our mind. And then we'll go back over and search, and it shows now we have 2 doctors, one with both with unique fax numbers and unique practice names, and those other two doctors have been merged together. So one of the ways that that happens is that if you enter a doctor in from the records area, you have to choose whether it's referring or what type of doctor it is. If you unclick that, there's an option there. If that doctor is entered from an order, it automatically chooses referring physician, which is helpful. So it will also be a training opportunity, because if you have someone who entered the doctor and it comes up as a radiologist or a signing physician, then you know where they entered it from, because it's unique in that way. The next admin feature is workflow configuration. And what we have here is a list of your workflow list. And under the enabled column, you'll see that some of them are light gray and some of them are dark gray. The dark grays are able to be unchecked. The light grays are permanent parts of the workflow and they cannot be changed. So for instance, we go over to patient workflow and you see the entire list. My practice did not use all of these. We didn't have a screened or arrived. So as a PACS admin, I would go over to workflow configuration and I can uncheck screened and arrived. And then you click on save. It confirms that my changes have been saved. And then I can head back over to patient workflow to double check that those are gone. And they are, just because uncluttering screens for other users is a really helpful thing, especially whenever I was dealing with many techs that were outside of our facility. So with that, I will send things back to Josue to pick up on some others.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Dina. With that. So continue on from some of the other admin tools. So far as Dina has shown you, like some of these you may use them more often than others. Some others you may even just only go and set it one time when you start with our solutions. And then for all the time of your working, you might not even use it again, because once you set it and that is the way you work with our solution, you might not be required to change some of those. So, but going with some of the other admin tools that Dina did not show you, I will. And one of those is the form configuration. So when I show you this form configuration, I am just going to quickly also show you in another tab this the schedule. So when you are going to schedule, we have two options by default. One is open this shorter version of the order, or you can use the full order that, as you can see, has multiple tabs and has a lot more information. So where you configure all of this information, that is what you do in here. If I go back to my other tab, here in my admin and form configuration. So it does have a default setting, and if you like it, you can keep that one. However, if you feel that there might be other information that you might want to input in the first time that your patients go in and schedule a patient, you might want to add that. Or if it has too many information that you may not want to do that first time, but instead maybe when they are really on site for that schedule, you might just want to change that. So I am going to show you, and that is what you do in the form configuration. So the first option that you will see is this drop-down menu, and it will give you the option to select which form you want to change or modify. In this case, we're going to start with the quick order form, and you will see that you have a left panel with all the options that you can use in this form. And on the right panel, a preview of how it's going to look like. So the first section, that is the patient information, this will always be displayed on your quick order and the full order form. You will not be able to change any of that one because the patient information, it's really important to always keep it there. However, the rest of the information that is related either to the order, to the procedure, or for billing purposes, that is the information that you can go and change. So one of those is, you can see here that whenever I go over any specific field, if they are displayed in the preview in the right, you can see that it will do a small highlight. So you just can visually know exactly what you're seeing or what your field you are requesting and if it's enabled or not. So as you can see in my left panel, you will have different sections. Like you can see here in the preview, this is order information. And you see right now I have 4. But in my left panel, you can see that I have some additional fields. If you feel that you are required or you would like to also input that information from the start of the schedule, you might just want to click on the sorry, in that field, and it will, as you can see now, the orders are displayed. If you click again in that checkbox, you will see that it will disappear. So it's very simple as just clicking or unclicking on those checkboxes to display or hide those fields. And you will see that many of these fields will have a star right next to it. So the star, it allows you to make a field required. So for example, if you are one that is working a lot with referring physicians, with insurances, and you care to know exactly who is referring all your patients to your site, you might decide that, well, I would like to have my referring physicians required. So you can just go and click on that star, and when it turns yellow, now you can see in the preview, it is a small red asterisk to the left. It's a visual cue to remember this is going to be required. One of the things that you also have to be sure is there will be no exceptions to the required information. So in this case, is any patient, it doesn't matter from where it comes, you will have to input the referring physician, right? So in this case, if you are hospital, that you have walk-in patients and you have also inpatients, most likely you will still have to put as referring physician sometimes your own staff if they come from inpatient, or if they are walk-ins, most likely they will have to provide you with that. So when you are requiring, that is one of the things that you have to understand. So if you are inpatients and you don't want to input those because you know everything that comes in from my own staff, I really don't have to type it every time. Remember, if you are required, it will always ask you to do it. So if you are sure that you will not require for every single case, then you most likely will not mark it required, but instead leave it as optional, but train your staff that they will always have to put the referring physician for all your walk-ins, for example. So those are things that you can do from here. Another one, for example, again, is if you go over and you see some of this information that, oh, well, I would like to have it in a different order. So for example, I am going to have this, my schedule information, my requires attention, and for example, my instructions. So if I want to have all my instructions before these ones, I can very easily just go over the instructions in the left panel, and you can click and drag, right? So as long as you go dragging, you can see that now I am going to be over procedure notes, and that is too much, and I really want it right here. So as you can see, when I am moving it, my icon will turn sometimes red or sometimes green. So it means that I can do that move or not. So in this case, you cannot move fields to another section, but I can just reorder in this section. So once you know that you have this left click and you click it, now you will see that it now changed it. Now I have my schedule notes, my instructions, and my requires attention. So you can just go and drag and drop. And you can do the same with the sections, right? So if I would like to have my insurance information, in this case, above, And before the procedure information, I'm just going to click this to make it a little bit faster. So I can just now drag and drop. And okay, I misclick it and I release it, and I still move my mouse when I release it. So I have to be sure, and I will try to move it right this way, and that it. So I keep releasing my mouse or moving my mouse when I release. So it's kind of like, it's very picky with moving your mouse when you are moving those sections. So now that I have that one here, I will have this option that you can see my information or my sections will change order. So that is one of the things that you can do when you are changing. And again, you can add more fields and others. One of the things that I will also like to show you is for quite some time, we have these new fields. If you are working with insurance and with Medicare especially, they require you to have these clinical decision support fields, they call it. And those are these three: the G code, the modifier, and the DSN fields. So one of the things that you can see is like, if you are going to be receiving or working with many patients in there, and one of the things that you will like to have is this enabled. By default, those will not be enabled. So if you are one of those sites that you will be using those, you can go and enable it in this, for example, in the quick order form. And once you have done all your changes, you have changed the order, you have make required, you have hidden or displayed the fields that you require, you always have the option to save it. So if you do not click save and you go to another page, all those changes will be lost. So if again you did forget to add those, you will have to go back and re-add them again. So in this case, if you are working with Medicare, you just have to make sure that either you can add them in the quick order form and also in the full order form. In this case, I can go back now into my drop-down list all the way into my top left and select the full order form. And now you can see I'm seeing the full order form. And here in my order billing information, I also already have enabled them manually. So those are things that you can do with your forms. Again, you will add or remove fields depending on what is best for your site. Maybe the defaults that we have are great for your site, but if you are using some other additional information, or you are not by default requesting information that we might have as default, you can just go and hide it and show the information that your site knows it's important for you and how you are going to be working with our RIS. So that is those two, the order form and the quick form. As you can see, it's very similar. Now I'm going to show you the last two, the patient records and the physician records. So these patient records is if you are going to be using our RIS to create patients. So this does not apply to all the customers. If you already have your HIS system or your EMR linked, most likely you will not go over this one. You will do all of that in your HIS or your EMR, and our RIS system will only make a copy of all those patients in here, so you will have all that information. If you are one of those exceptions that you will be using our system to manage your patients, you can see that this is also in here. How you will access that one is you can go into, just going into this other tab. I will go into my menu and I have these records that Dean already showed you. So when you select onto your patient's database in your records, this is that page that you will find there. So this is what you will see, all the patient database. And if you click new patient, this is that form that you can change. In this case, for our patient and physician records, since those are the records that you are going to keep in your page, in your database, you will not be able to hide any of these fields. What you can do is mark required if you have. So I do know in many cases, some of the insurance companies, not just require you to have all your patient information or patient name, last name, and procedures link, but some of them will also require you to have the patient sex linked in that information. So if you do not have, if it's female, male, or other on there, they will not be willing to pay for that information. So if you know that for that reason, some insurance companies will require you always to have that this field, the patient sex required, you can just go and do it. And now you are going to be sure that whenever you are scheduling patients, they will have to type that information, and that will help you on the long run, on also on your billing side of the systems. So as you can see here, you can do exactly same information. You can change the order of the fields, and you can mark them required or not if you want. So that is what is going to happen with the patient record and also with the physician record. And those physician records are also what Dina showed you when you are going into your records and physicians, right? So that form that you will see when you are creating a doctor, and you also will have all their license and all your site information. This form, it's exactly this one where you can change. So as you can see here, it will let you also do the same. You cannot hide that information, but you can mark it require or change the order of the information if you require it. So that is for our tool for using our forms configuration. Now I'm going to show you the manage documents category. So by default, since our system allows you to go 100% digital and you are no longer required to do paper documents, we created this documents category so that you by default will have 5 general groups or categories, and then you can also add or remove more if that it will apply to your site. So for example, in questionnaires, the 5 default that we have these are these identification category, insurance, procedure checklist, requisitions, and questionnaires. So if your site by default will have those, and that helps your site to manage all the documents that you will be using, either scanning in or uploading files to your system, then you can use that one. However, you can create some of those extra if you want. So for example, in questionnaires, you can have many different types. You can have just your patient history can be considered a questionnaire. If you are following checklist steps for your staff to make sure that they have prepared the patient and the modality and everything will be ready when they start the procedure, that can also be considered just like a questionnaire, a checklist, right? And the procedures. So if you have many type of questionnaires, sometimes you may end up with maybe 5 or 10 different type of questionnaires. And if you just want to narrow them a little bit faster, you can create a very specific own category. Every document that you will upload, you can have a specific name on it. So it will upload and it will have a name and you can find them by name, but also you can select the type of category. And one of the other extra functions of a category is that it can help you know if that information is going to be linked to your patient or to the procedure or the order in this case. So when you create a new one, you can very easily just go into your top left and click on the add category. And for this class, I am going to be uploading a patient history. So as you can see, I already have a patient history. And I can create a new category because I just don't want to have it into the questionnaire and have it mixed with the other 6 or maybe 10 different type of questions. I want to find this a little faster. From here, I do know that my patient history is going to be linked for my patient and not to my order. So in this case, I know that the scope is going to be my patient. and I can create now a new. So you can see that I now have my patient history category here. And now when I upload documents, I will also be able to find them a little faster with that one. So taking in account that we can also manage our categories or document categories, sorry, when we are managing with documents, we are going to be using this other admin tool that is called the Manage eForms. So when we manage eForms, by default, we have the Manage Site Forms, and that allows you to upload documents and to still print them into the paper. However, some of our customers may still want to print those documents. Others will like to go 100% digital. So this eForms is an like an add-on module that goes over the site form. So by default, all the customers have the site forms enabled. And if you want to go 100% digital, you can contact your support and sales and get them so that you can start using your eForms. So eForms stands for electronical forms, right? So just to make sure that it's really easy to work. So if you already have all the experience working with your site forms where you upload documents on PDF versions, and then you can print them or share it with not your staff, but also with your patients, depending on what type of document you're using. Now, these eForms will give you some extra information and extra features. One of them is now your patients could use any electronic device. So they can use either tablets, smartphones, or even other computers to receive those documents, see them electronically, or in this case, basically open a PDF, see that PDF, also fill that PDF information, and then send it back into the RIS. And then the RIS will be able to save that copy of that filled document, and that will also be saved as part of the patient documents or the specific order documents, right? So once we have that information, one of the things that you have to take in account is then you will always be uploading a PDF document. So in that case, you most likely have to work first in your PDF document. And once you have that one ready, you can then upload that and start using that file into your site. So how do I do that is I do have these pre-created PDF documents. So I have both are the same. I'm just going to show you, for example, this is the standard PDF document for my patient history, where I will ask all that information for my patient and they will have to fill everything. However, this is required still to print it so that they will fill it manually, right? So they will still have to use paper or pen and start working with it. The other one that I have is this other. So as long as you use your preferred PDF editor, you can just go and add now fields that you can, for example, you can start typing that information right in there, right? So once you have that PDF document created, now you can decide which one you will use. So I am going to be using this that has the electronic version because that will allow me to use all the features in my eForms module. So once that I have it here, you can see that I already have some of these. And for example, some of these consent forms are still just like a different manual file that you can upload. So I'm going to create this new. So the steps are very simple and it will not take that long depending on the type of file. So in this case, I am going to be starting to use a patient history. And I'm just going to, as you can see, I'm going to name it different. So this is my patient history for my user group, right? So for this class. Now that I select that one, I can select what type of a specific document category it is. And I already just created this new that is called the patient history. So again, this is just more for search purposes so that I will not just link it to the patient, but also easier to find instead of looking between too many questionnaires. Now you will see that I have 3 checkboxes or options that will allow me to also know what exactly I have to do with this document. The first option, the patient package, if this is a document that you are going to give to your patients, then you can select this option. If it's an internal document that only your staff will be working, you will not select that patient. Since in this example, this is my patient history, this is for my patient, so I am going to select this patient packet option. Then from the form update database information, this is something that you can select if any information that is typed into that PDF document will be able to be processed, and that could update your information in your RIS system. So in this case, I am going to select yes. So for example, if my patient updates the contact information, their date of birth, if by any chance I had the wrong one before, or the phone number, the address, any other type of that information, if that is part of here and they update it, then I wanted my RIS to also update that information. So I will select that option. And the last is if this document is going to be optional or not. In this very specific example, my patient history is not something that they will require to fill every single time they visit me. Most likely once a year, maybe 2 times if that is your policies in your site. In this case, since it's not going to be required, I am going to mark it and make it option. So I will, again, my staff will be trained that they know they have to do it the first time, and maybe the next time they just have to make sure that they already have this document filled in my patient. And if it's, then they are not going to be required for that next time. From there, you will have some specific rules. In this example, again, that I am giving you, patient history, this is going to be enabled for all my patients, either new or old, and it's independent of what type of procedure. This is something that is going to be always for my patient. So in this case, I don't have to do any complicated rules or anything. However, if you're going to be using different documents for, again, the different purposes that you have, you might be able to use any of these. So as you can see in this case, I'm just going to leave it blank. So it's going to be available for my site or my different sites for all my morality procedures. If there is by any reason any standard procedure linked to that order, it's going to be for all and also for the CPT codes. And so now I can just go and select my upload a file. And this is going to let me go and look for it. So by default, I have it there, but you can just go and navigate in your system, look exactly where you are. And I am going to want to upload this that has the form fields already in the PDF document. So once you select OK, and you can click save. And as you can see now, I have that patient information. So as you can see now, I have this, that is my patient history user group that I just created. So if you click, you can see that it is going to tell me all that information. And as you can see, it will give me also a preview of my PDF document. And I will be able now to make sure this is the document. If you are going to be, for example, moving from some documents that were just all paper and now you're going to be using those that you can fill electronically, you can also go and delete some of those. So for that one, you will go into your forms list and you will go all the way into the right and you will have here this X button. And if you click, it will let you delete that e-form. So you can very easily, again, add new ones and remove. One just last thing before we move to the other area, admin tools. When you are setting your PDF documents, so again, I'm just going to show you. So when you are working with your PDF editor, most likely you will want those documents to do 2 things. Again, one, to update the database, but also this can be able to pull the information from your database and pre-populate this document. So if I already have my patient name, my date of birth, the age of my patient, and the sex of my patient, I can do that in my PDF editor. Depending in your type of PDF editor, the one thing that you most likely will want to use is this button that says support form fields. So once you click in this option, the support fields, our RIS will show you the specific name that is going to be linked to our database. So if you want to pull the address information, you can just go and click this one. So you can click in this left blue icon, and this is going to copy and paste it. So I'm just going to show you what it does, and exactly it just copy and paste that information. Again, it's case sensitive, so that is why we have this copy paste option. So once you have that option and you are editing your PDF and you are adding your name field, for example, and your address field, you can set the specific database information link in that PDF editor. So you can then link it, and now that PDF document will be able to pull information from the RIS database and show it in the documents. And these that has this green check are the ones that we can read back and also update that information. So as you can see, we can update mainly the patient information like the address, the date of birth. If they are updated also their email, their contact information, or anything related to that. That is the type of information that we can pull, but also write back and update into the RIS. From here, I would like to show you the SMTP configuration. So since many customers can use this one, this is the option that will allow you to distribute your reports via email. So once we have finalized a report in either the PACS or the RIS, then it's going to look for this information and we'll be able to send an email with that PDF version of the report. In this case, this is more for IT or admin. They will give you the host information or the IP, the port that you will be using, the email account that you will be using, and then you will have your user password, right? So you will have the name and the password that you will be using. We added in these latest updates this option that you can use third-party email applications. So that is one thing that we were a little limited before, that we will be able to work with hospitals that have their own email servers. However, now we can support customers that also want to use Gmail, for example, or even iCloud or any other type of third-party email servers that they can use. Now we can use that option. And by that, you can just go and select one or both, depending on what is going to work for that third-party server. If they are going to be using SSL certificates, or if they are going to be validating just by direct SMTP certificates. So in this case, you can just go and set your specific email. So if mine are, for example, northclinics@gmail.com, for example, I will most likely get my information from Gmail. You can contact, in this case, support from Gmail. You can ask them if they can give you the host information, the timeout, and then you can use your own account password that you have created for this email account. And depending on these options, it will now let you use, in this case, for example, Gmail for your clinic, if you are a small clinic that you don't have a third-party email servers. And one of the other tools that you as an admin will use not all the time, but it will be very, very helpful for you, is your modalities. So you want to be able to know exactly what modalities you have in the RIS, not just for schedule purposes, but also it will let you know exactly what type of procedures you can perform. So in this case, we will show you how we can do that. And this is going to be your manage modalities, modality types, and the modality schedules. So I'm going to show you the first one that you most likely will use is the modality types. For all our customers that normally have mainly the packs and just doing the reports, you will realize that you will not be doing all this. The RIS can do this automatically for you. The system will create by default the modality type and your modality and will enable it by default. If you are here and, for example, you are adding a new modality to your site, maybe you are expanding and you're going to get a new ultrasound and a new X-ray, you can do that manually here. Or you can also just go and hook it up into the PAC system, and then the PAC system will also look for that one and will enable that by default. That is something that you can call support. You can say, you know what, I want my PAC system to automatically create my new modalities, and they can help you select that option there. From here in the modality types, you can see these are the DICOM standards. You are having MR, CTs, angios, mammos, X-ray, ECGs, ultrasounds. So by default, you can create those or the system can show those. For example, if you are going to be creating a new modality and it's totally something that is not, for example, my normal mammo, I might be getting a new tomo machine. So I will be not just adding the standard mammo studies, but I will also have some other new that my normal mammo will not be working. You can just go and create a new type of modality that is going to be, for example, my tomo modality, right? So I'm just going to keep the standard, everything in caps lock. And this is going to be my tomo synthesis, right, machine. You can select these other options if you know that you are going to be required. So again, some of these are optionals. The first one is require insurance. So if every single scheduled procedure is going to require insurance information, then you can click it. This is going to make the RIS system to automatically warn you. Like if there is no insurance company and you're trying to schedule a new tomo study, it will give you a warning that you have to add the insurance information. If you also require pre-authorization for that with that insurance company, you can also click it. So even if you have the insurance, but you don't have the pre-authorization added, again, it will warn you and tell you you also need a pre-authorization number to schedule a procedure. And the last one is it will require you the specific date and time, but also a duration, how long it's going to take to do that procedure. So I'm going to just give them by default. In most cases, you will not be required always insurance and not always the duration. So as you can see, very simple, I can just create a new modality. So now I can just go and add that modality into my schedule. And I can do that again, going into my modalities menu and going to manage modalities. So here, as you can also see, it will show me all the modalities that I already have. And as you can see, I have some of these that are inactive. Maybe they are broken or they are in maintenance or they really just are waiting to be fixed if the parts weren't on site. So this is one of the things that you can also do with the managed modalities. If you have modalities that requires fixing or even parts and you have to be waiting, you can deactivate instead of deleting them. So when they are fixed and they are back up and running again, you can just go and activate again those. So for example, if this CT study, they finally arrive with the parts that we require and they fix it and they have done all the testing and it's working again, I can just go and very quickly just active that one again and click OK. And now my staff will be available to schedule patients for that modality again. So I'm going to also show you, so now that I created a new Tomo, for example, I want to also be able to now start scheduling patients for my new Tomo site, right? So this is going to be for my main demo that I am using. So we are using this site. You, by default, most customers will have one. So this is going to be my Tomo machine. If I know exactly where it's going to be and it's not portable, so I am going to have it, for example, in room 111, right? 1011. Now, since it's a new and it's going to be active, and I am going to select that specific. So now it's going to be a Tomo machine, right? So a Tomo device. If I am going to be able to share my procedures and patients, I will have to enable the DICOM work list, and my Tomo provider can give me the specific A title that is used for that. So if by any chance, for example, this is going to be Tomo M405, right? So you will have to copy and paste exactly what they told you. This is case sensitive. So now that I have it, now very easily you know exactly where your modality is going to be. You will know exactly what type of procedures you can schedule on that, since you have now also the modality, and you will be able to share your patients and order information with that modality by enabling that, right? So once I have, okay, now you can see I have now my Tomo modality here, and I will be able to have all that information in here. So related to this, the other thing that you will be able to do is you can start now scheduling patients, right? So just before you go on that one of the things that you can also work with is with your standard procedures. So the standard procedures, this is, as you can see, very, very simple. It will give you exactly what type of modality is going to be, what type of procedure you can perform, and this one also tells you how long it's going to take. So in this case, for example, my 3-phase bone scan for my new medicine, it's going to take me 30 minutes, right? But the one that is using just an injection, it's just going to take only 30 minutes. So you can go in and set everything in there. So there is also some other things that you can do if you want, if you are going to be using our RIS also for more billing purposes, you can also start adding some more information. So the RIS is very complete. It can give you a lot of information. So you can link CPT codes, but also you can link protocol instructions. Again, some of those are optionals. If you are just going to be using the basic information, you can have that one. Or you can just go very in-depth and add a lot of extra information. So once you have all that information in your system, it's going to be a lot more easier when you are going to be scheduling. So now I'm going to give back the time to Dina so she can start explaining to you about the scheduling page.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start off with an overview of the scheduling page. Just general navigation. Anyone who's using the RIS is going to be familiar with these particular parts, but there may be something that you haven't tried out yet. So again, we'll try and give you something to think about to see if you want to make a change. So this scheduling page, relatively recent feature within the last 2 versions, was the navigation in the scheduling page so that you can get back to today faster. And these right and left arrows, they're determined by what you're clicked on here in the day, week, or month. So if you're in week and you click on the right arrow, it's going to advance you to the next week and following. And as a scheduler, if you're getting a phone call, you might have to go pretty far in advance for this call. This patient may want to schedule out their CT for the 6th of September, but the following patient may have an urgent request for a CT for today. So having these buttons back and forth and today and advancing by day, week, or month allows you to navigate to those areas quickly without having to type out the full date. So fast navigation when you're on the phone is critical to a scheduler. Show and hide modalities is another field that is available whenever you're clicked on day. You'll see a couple of extra buttons over here that aren't available during whenever you're clicked on week or month. So if you're on day, this allows you to include as many or as few modality types as what you would like. So for right now, the checkboxes are in CT, X-ray, and MRI, and you can see those areas in the background that are showing up. But as Josue had just explained the addition of a modality, let's include the TOMO and click on apply. And it adds that additional column here at the front so that you could see all 4 of those at the same time. You'll also notice navigation-wise that there are 2 boxes here. There is single view and what we're calling multi-view. So there's single lines and then the icon with the 4 squares. If you're in single view, you'll see that the scheduling times on the left are applying across the board to all these modalities. If I click on the 4 square box, it gives me an additional option. And I'm going to swap back out here just a second. Okay, so if I'm seeing a CT, an X-ray, and an MRI, we all know that those do not take the same amount of time, and so the schedules look a little bit different for each one of those modalities. What you're able to do through multi-view is left-click on the time frames for the schedule there. And let's say we want to see the CT by every 30 minutes. And so it changes the view for just CT, but it does not change the view for the X-ray and the MRI. So for X-ray, we can do the same thing, and we can see the schedule every 10 minutes. And with MRI, we want to see it every hour. So you can handle those modalities with the schedule independently. So that's the ability to see the schedule in a slightly different way. And it's a choice, again, that you need to make for your facility, whether that is more confusing, less confusing, or somewhere in between, and whether that makes sense. That is something that you can do by user. So a user can choose to do that. This is not an admin feature. So someone who finds this helpful can set their screen up this way. Whereas if it is simpler for someone else to just show the single view, they can make that choice as well. The modalities can also be chosen by facility. So this is the drop down for facilities. If you only have one facility, that's not something you'll need to worry about. But if you have multiple facilities that offer different modalities, you can customize your screen by that criteria. The next feature, just to quickly go over, that is relatively new, is this hovering, resulting in a nice summary box. So if you hover over top of the scheduled study, it gives you a pop-up box that will give you a summary of what that study has, the patient name, the procedure name. Scheduler notes is in there, but it gives you the ability to take a quick look without going actually into the patient profile or into the order, which is very handy, again, for a scheduler. It also allows you to actually enter with one click into the patient record. So if you click on that field, it takes you right in to edit the patient. If you find something as the patient comes into the office, you realize that the patient's name is misspelled, you can click on that highlighted area and it will take you directly into the patient profile. The same would apply for procedure name. It doesn't take you into the patient profile. This one takes you into the actual procedure where that is able to be edited as well. The other great feature about this, if anyone has been in a situation where they need to remember the patient ID, that can be copied from that hovered box. So, again, if you click on it, it allows you to copy that information. Having a hard time to click to copy there. That clicks, so you can copy that information by clicking on it so that you don't have to remember the patient ID. Anyone who's worked with patient IDs knows that that's trying to keep those things in your brain. You're either doing that with a piece of paper and a pencil next to your phone, but this allows you to do that without having to remember. And it's very handy because you aren't going to have number inversion that way. So the last feature, just as an overview of navigation, is the drop and drag or drag and drop feature. So if I'm a scheduler and I get a phone call from Panda Test that they are scheduled for a study and they're not able to come in and they want to reschedule for the end of the day, you are able to drag and drop those studies at the end of the day. And if they're connected, like Panda Test is, they pull together. So both of those studies came together. However, if my hand slips and I end up clicking over onto MRI, it does not allow you to drag and drop across modalities. So it will just not do it if you're trying to drag and drop across modalities, which is what you'd like it to do, because there are things that are involved there that are not transferable. What you would have to do is if you intentionally wanted to reschedule this X-ray as an MRI, you would need to right-click and click on cancel, and then it gives you a pop-up box to confirm that you really intended to cancel. It'll ask for a reason and a description, and then you would click yes and be able to close that. And at this point, I'm going to send it back to Josue to continue with scheduling in detail.
Yes. Okay. So as one of the things that Dina has shown you so far is like we have many ways that you can access information, and you can still do the same thing by a long way. You can go into the menu, go into records, or go into procedures, edit procedures, or view procedures. However, there are some times that you will be wanting to use a little bit faster options to see the patient record, to see the specific procedure information, or if you want to look for that patient somewhere else, you can just go and copy and paste, right? So the same way, sometimes what happens is you might want to quickly schedule patients. So one of the other solutions that could have is what happens if I have a patient that I need, but for some reason that specific doctor that is telling me to schedule a specific procedure, they might be asking for a specific additional information that we normally don't do in our procedures. So those are some of the things that could happen. So for example, let's say I am going to add a new patient. So I'm just going to show you some other things that you can do. In the far left, there is a collapsible panel that you can look for your patient database. Also, you look for all your standard procedures or the procedures that you can perform on your patients, right? And if you are going to be also working with a third-party system, if you are going to allow your HIS or EMR system to send you order requisitions. So we can also do that in those cases so that you will also be able to see those requisitions, and then you can go and manually schedule them in the available times that you have. So in this case, I'm just going to do one of those. So for example, you can go into the standard procedures, right? And if they are going to be asking me, you know what, I do need an abdominal X-ray study that my doctor says, but he says that we will need an additional information, a sagittal view that normally is not part of that one, uh, to have a better view from the liver, for example. So one of the things that you will see is if there is something that it's not normally working, or you, in this case, sorry, I'm going to go into my X-ray studies. And as you can see, I can see all the list of my available procedures that I can do. And I do have a standard thorax X-ray, but I don't have a thorax X-ray with that additional sagittal view that they might be requesting. So one of the things is that then you can just go and manually create everything. But if you are doing a lot of extra information, like adding the CPT code, the service lines, and any other ICD code or things related, having to manually do everything is just going to take you a long time. But if you know that it is the same standard thorax X-ray, it's just I am going to be requiring one additional view, and your system still allows you to do that, I can just go and do that. So for example, I am going to drag and drop, so that will just make it a little bit faster. You can see it knows exactly that I went and drag and drop it, and I did it in the MG machine. So this is going to, as you can see, it says, no, I don't want, and this is an X-ray. So I have to drag and drop it correctly, and I am going to go and drag and drop it in my X-ray mode. So I do know there is that empty time slot right now, and I can see. So I am going to have my thorax X-ray by default, and you can start adding some information. So you can just go and in this that says the procedure name, you can add some extra information. For example, plus the Excel sagittal simple view, for example. If they want everything but plus this that is not the common one, you can add it there, or you can also add it as any additional notes that you may be regarding. So for example, you may add an additional thorax sagittal view. Right? In this case, as you can see, I don't have to go and now create all my billing purposes. I don't have to recreate everything. I can still use the most common standard that I have, and I just add these new additional instructions for them to help me with this option, right? And now that I have it, I just have to look for my patient. And again, we're going to use one of our test patients, and I'm going to be using this tester. So again, the system now already knows what patient it is, what time it is, and that I have this type of study. And for example, there are other things that you might use And one of them is this new option that says requires attention. So if by any reason you have a site that you have many Spanish speaking patients, you may end up having every now and then maybe a patient that just speaks Spanish and they don't speak English. So let's say if that happens, one of the things, if your majority of staff does not speak English, or you have maybe one or two that do that, one of the things that you may want to do is please pay attention to this patient, and you can give in these, for example, scheduler notes, you can type it that you need a translator, right? Otherwise, any question that you will ask or any instructions that you will leave, the patient will just not be able to follow them, right? So in this case, you can put a translator, and if by any chance is one of the patient's family members, you can say, for example, maybe it's the husband, right? So if the husband is the one that is going to also be helping me to translate to this patient, you can also make that so that your rest of the staff will pay attention. Okay, that's why the husband is also coming in because he is the translator, right? So you can start doing things like that. If also you may end up having a patient that may require to have more than one study, you most likely will want to also add that one. So what we can do to add that additional studies, you can see right here that is telling me that I only have one new procedure, right? So I know that this is a new scheduled procedure for this patient, but let's say this patient also requires to do a hip X-ray also. So since it's not the same as the thorax, I can go and add it. One way is that you can go and save it and then manually look for and then add the second procedure. Or the other is you can just go here in your top part and select this full schedule editor. And from here, you will see that you will still see the patient information. Now the rest of the order now is in here in these different tabs. So as you can see here in the procedure, I still know that is this thorax information, that I have this additional thorax sagittal view that I have to add. And I still need required attentions and the note that I have there. But now I can just go in this top part below my patient. I can click add into this plus sign. And this will allow me to schedule two procedures for the same patient at the same time. In this case, it will let me do two options. All right, I just have to go slower. One is that I will create a new procedure. And the other one, if this patient already had a procedure before that is scheduled, but maybe they didn't present on that date, maybe complications or something, they did not either cancel it and I did not have it canceled in my system, I can just go and add this procedure that was already created and just reschedule it and use them. In this case, I am going to give you this one. So I'm just going to create a totally new study. And it's also going to be, in this case, I have to manually do everything. For the second one, it's also an X-ray study, but in this case, it's going to be a hip with a lateral view, right? And now I do know exactly, and as you can see, it will not give me the date and time. It knows the first one, but not for this second one. So one of the things that I can do is use this find next available time. And what it will do, as you can see, this new view will let me use the system to automatically look for my modality and also check for the specific times and requests. So as you can see right now, I have this thorax, that is the first one. And then this is the hip that also takes about half an hour also. So as you can see, it knows that it can go and put those two right one next to the other one. So in this case, if that is going to work for my patient, I can just go and click. If not, for example, you can select, I am going to go into my order procedure, and I am going to look, for example, for tomorrow or a little bit later at 2 p.m. Or if I go on the day tomorrow at first thing tomorrow morning, that is more available for my patient, that might be working. In this case, when I select the first option, you can see it is going to show me both right next to the other one, right now in about 1 hour. And since this is what is going to work for me, I can choose select time. And once you click it, now both will have the correct time durations, and I will save this. And you can see now I have these two procedures scheduled right here for this patient. So that is one of the ways that you can schedule procedures by also dragging and dropping. Again, you can customize any information. And the same will happen if you have a patient. If you have already your patients in here, for example, I am looking for patient smooth. And you can see that I have two patients smooth, right? One is age, both are called Janice. And in this case, for example, if one of them is the mother and the other is the daughter, you can make sure that you will ask the correct questions to know exactly which one of them it is, right? So if it's this older patient, I can go and I have my mammo, right? And I can just go and drag and drop it. And now we know it's going to start at 1 p.m. And I'm just going to select the specific mammo type of study. So if it's a mammo unilateral study, I will add it and I can very quickly schedule it. So you can see it's very quick when you're scheduling. You are not required to go over in too much detail. However, when that patient might have more time, I can go over, and if I want to edit that information, Dean already have shown you you can drag and drop to reschedule. But for example, if I just have to fill additional information, once my patient has more time, or if I have many patients waiting for her, I can schedule many of them. And when I am more free with time, I can go back and call my patient, right? So I can call back again Janice, and I can start asking for the additional information. So if I have to fill the rest of the patient information that I don't have, I can go here in this edit option. And again, I don't have to go all the other way, going into records and patients. From here, I can see my patient record, and I can start asking for the address information, the city, the state, the zip code, the contact information for the phone or email, anything that they have, right? And I can keep on filling the rest of the information that I have here, right? So I can just fill all that information and finish that, and I will be ready for doing that with my patients. So as you can see, this is very helpful. It's really easy. And one of the other things that you might have is, for example, what will happen in those cases that, again, I have a standard procedure, but taking this additional 1 or 2 series with contrast that I normally wouldn't have, it is going to take me a little longer. So in those cases, our system also allows you to do that very simple. So since this is going to take a little bit longer, and she is not going to be able to go back until after 1. And if I drag it, my next patient, Harriet, she is already on site also waiting. So one of the things I can do is just I can reschedule her after my patient, Harriet. And as long as you go over that same scheduled block, if you go over either to the bottom or to the top, you will see that the cursor changes into a double arrow. So if I know this is going to take me not the standard 30 minutes, but most likely like 45, 50 minutes, you can just go and drag and drop. And as you can see now, it knows that it is going to take about 1 hour. So this is one way. This is limited for the time slot changes. So since every time slot is of 30 minutes, every time you expand or collapse is going to be on 30 minutes times. If you want to be more specific, you can also go into the edit option, and it's not exactly 60 minutes. It's going to be 45 minutes now, right? Instead of the 30 standard. And you can see that it is going to display that difference, right? It will show you exactly that option. And you can see that we have some of these extra schedule here that you see that one is overlapping with the other one. This is to show you that you can also still do that, especially if you are in an emergency. Normally, most hospitals will like to have everything like no procedure overlapping with another. You will want to have it very clean, very nicely, so that you know that what times you really have available and what times you really are full and you cannot attend any extra patients. However, when you are in a big hospital and you have emergencies, the system will still allow you to do that. So for example, maybe one of these patients, really most of these demos that we added here in this patient are emergencies. So it will still let you do that. If you have a patient that came into your ER that it's really a emergency, they will say, you know what, it's like, I don't have much time. And if that patient is, if you already have patient, for example, for tester, and now I have a new patient in the ER and they call me and they tell me, doctor, we really need this patient right now. We have to take it. Uh, and I know that this other patient is already on my waiting room, and I can ask the patient, is like, can you wait half an hour more? And if they say, yes, no problem, I don't have to reschedule or change everything. I can just go and schedule my new procedure or my new patient. And for example, if this patient David and he's right there, I know it's not going to be exactly at 12:30, it's more going to be at 12:10. And again, it's going to keep everything there, and I am going to be able to, for example, pelvis and save it. And as you can see, it will still warn me and it's telling me, you already have another patient schedule, but you know that your staff has already consulted with the patient. There's no problem. You have this emergency, you can still click OK. And yes, I know this is already, yes, I am totally fine. I understand those processes. That's why you have it. And now you can see I have this other patient. So I can now get this patient, start working, and then I can go back and call this other patient to receive his procedure at the normal time that they should have. So from here on the scheduling page, now we're going to go into the other page that most of your staff and even your admins will spend most of the time. And that is the patient workflow page. So so far the admin, and it's mostly for your admin users. Your scheduling, this is more for your front desk staff. They will spend most of the time in that one. However, the rest of your staff most likely will be in this, that is the patient workflow. At the starting of this class, you remember that Dina showed you this, how do you can configure your workflow and what steps you have. As you can see, by default, we have all these different statuses that you can track. All are enabled. Just to remember for you, for example, you can see that there are some that are optional. Some of these might not be enabled, some are other. So in this case, that is what you're going to be seeing here in your patient workflow. So some of those additional, you can see it's between schedule and check-in, you have two optionals, the screen and the arrived. So the main objective for the screen one is when you have those patients that will require special attention for complicated procedures. So in this case, best example I can give you is nuke medicine studies. Those with and without contrast and the type of contrast that you have to give to your patients, it will take not just preparation when they are on their home, but also when they are on site. So in this case, most likely you will want to have that screen additional status, and you will move to that screen list only those patients that require it. So even when you have all the different statuses, you don't have to move all your patients through every single step. So since that is the screen is optional, you will tag only those patients, and your staff most likely will know they have to make sure that that patient follow the instructions prior to coming on site. And when the patient is on site, they will have to follow up for the rest of the preparation on site. If it's going to be drinking, but well, give them the enough water. They have to also give them the contrast to drink and make sure that they have waited the correct time so that they will be ready for being called in and taken the study. Then we have the other one, the arrived. The arrived is mainly to know exactly which patients are on site, but they are not ready to be called in yet. So that is very linked together with the screen option. So the screen is, you have to prepare them, but they on home or before coming in. Once they come in, you can just move them from screen to arrive. So they know exactly that they are there, and you will also do the follow-up. Other option that they can use this is when you're on site and mainly your new patients that come on first time, you most want to have them fill a lot of documentation. So if it's the first time, you may want to fill the patient history. And also if it's some of those contrast type of studies, you may want to have them to read all the uh, consent forms where they are informed of what is going to be done in the procedure, what type of contrast they will be getting, and what are the possible side effects that they can have, and that they understand everything. If that is something that you have to make sure before they are really ready to be calling, you can use that arrive status.
Josue, we
Yes.
have the last 10 minutes set aside for question and answer, if there are any. So we want to break and see if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask.
Sure. Well, we have that time reserved for them. So in this case, the only thing, I'm just going to take 2 minutes for the scan started and scan verified. Those are the
Great.
two additional options. So the scan started status is if you want more statistical information. So if you want to know exactly how long it took from the first image to the last image, you might want to enable that option. And it's your technologist, the one that has to move from check-in to scan started. Once they click start taking images, and once they finish, it's going to be the modality and the packs that will be doing everything automatically. So you don't have to change it to scan complete, just to scan started. But again, this is something that some sites will like if they want to have more detailed statistical information, and if by any chance that information can help them take administrative decisions on how to enhance their patient care procedure, right? And the scan verified, it's very similar. And this one is specifically linked to our NovaPax solution. So when you are using our NovaPax diagnostic viewer to view and read procedures, one of the things is the PACS has this verified status. And that is a way that technologies can tell the radiologist all the information and all the images are ready for you to start viewing them and create the report. Before that one, for example, even if the technologies have taken all the images, sometimes they may have some other paperwork work. So they may have to look for the patient history, compile all those documents if they are still using paper, maybe moving all those patient histories from the archive to the doctor's desk so that the doctor will have that there. So again, it will vary depending on everyone, on every customer. But if you want to also, you can track that now. So that will also let you know within the RIS that everything is ready just to start reading those reports for those procedures. So, and that is for, again, the patient workflow. As you can see, it's very simple. Whenever you go to every single one of those, it will tell you exactly what patients and what procedures are in what status, so you can exactly know where your patient and procedures are, if they have reports or not, if they are ready to be called in or not. So in this case now, it's time. If anyone has any specific questions, we will gladly answer your questions.
If you have questions, if you can put those in the chat. Don't have any yet. So Josue, could you show us the NPI registry while we're waiting in case someone has a question, and I'll give them a little more time to ask it?
Oh, sure. So the NPI registry is linked exactly when you are creating your physician records. So we will go into records and we go into our physicians. So again, Dina already showed you how you can create a new one, how you will look information. In this case, for example, once you are creating, you can have two options, and one is to manually create all that information, right? You will ask the last name, the first name. One of the things that normally will end up happening is that some patients will not even know the name of the doctor, know only the last name. If it's by any reason, the long years doctor for my grandfather, for my father, and for me, and for my kids, most likely you also just know the doctor just maybe by the name or even nickname. Sometimes they don't know all that information. So the NPI registry is this button that is in here in the basic demographic info for the physicians. Once you click that one, you will see it let you search the United States NPI registry. So now it's still going to work the same way. One of the things that you might want to select is a specific state that you are on. So for example, since we're in Utah, we're going to go into Utah, and it's too long, so please narrow it down a little more. So I can use, for example, my Salt Lake City, right? And now you can see it is going to show me all those doctors that are in Salt Lake. Or for example, if I go to Provo, I can go into the Provo and it will show me all of them. And as you can see, it is going to show you the very basic information. It will give you the first name, last name, the specific NPI of that document, and then the address that they have registered into the NPI. So every doctor, every one of you know, you have to go and give this information. So whenever you are doing that one, it will avoid having too many duplicates in your system. So in this case, if I am looking for patient Lauren, they may, again, the patient may just tell you, oh, I just know is Dr. Absher, right? I don't know the name, but when you give the, like, this is the specific address, oh yeah, that is the specific address. And if they know there is just one single clinic, no other doctor, most likely it's this patient. So you can just go and click on that left cursor icon, and it will pre-fill all that information for you. So, and as you can see, it will also put in the NPI information there. So now that you have that one, you will avoid that sometimes you will have doctors that are just called Absher L or Absher Lawrence instead of just Lauren and things like that. So it will avoid you that information. And that's how you can.
I'm sorry, we have two questions if you, for when if you're finished up with NPI.
So it is possible to send a report via WhatsApp to the requesting doctor. Currently, we do not support sending it directly by WhatsApp. The ones that we have integrated with our system, you can use our alert view notification application, and that one will just send you a link. And when you click that link, it will open that alert view app and it will let you see that report. And the other is that we can also send you an SMS message. So in that case, we will send you an SMS with that link. And it will still work the same. When they click on that link, it will open the browser and it will let them see that report. But we do not have directly with WhatsApp application. The other question says, is there any easy way to print mortality schedule? So yes, we have. One of them is if you go directly into your patient workflow, and since you are working with a specific modality, that is the one thing that you most likely will select. So I will go directly for all my X-ray modalities, or if you know exactly which of all your X-ray of all your CTs are. In this case, you remember I have two different X-rays, so I'm just going to select the single one X-ray that I have. I don't want to select the other one. And as you can see right now, I'm going to go into my schedule, and you can see I have 19 procedures scheduled for this one. And as you can see, everything is from yesterday and one is for tomorrow. So once you have this one, you can go in this bulk icons or toolbar, and you can see that one of them is to create modality requisitions. And this is the only one that says just a printable version of this list. So if you click in here, it will take a couple seconds. And you can see that it is going to create a printable version exactly of this list that I have. So I'm just going to show you, this is a little bigger. So you can see exactly, it shows me the specific date, start, date, and time, and it will give you all those 19 different procedures in there. So you can also print it here. I don't have a printer in this my virtual machine, but you can just go and print it. It will let you print it in your network printer or your computer linked one.
We had an earlier question.
Okay, I believe.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We had a.
You're good. Yeah, we have time for maybe these last two.
Yeah. The other one says about the e-forms. Can we get a patient history e-form and type in all the information that will be linked and sent into the patient's study for a radio? Yes, that is the main objective of using our e-forms. So as you remember, today we created that e-form. So again, if I go in here, the thing is that this is the admin side. So as you can see, I will not see these documents field. I will only upload it, and now this document is available for every customer or every patient. How you log into those is you go here into your patient workflow page, and let's say I have this Smooth Janice that I just scheduled right now. So she is right now ready up there in front waiting. I can go into eForms now. If I click on eForms, you will see that the only information that I have is this new document that is the patient history. As you can see, many of these options are disabled because I have no document for her. Once I select that document, now it is going to enable a few options. One of them is to create a QR code that they can use their smartphone. When they put it on, it will create a link. They tap it in that link and it will immediately open that in their smartphone. If not, I can, if it's a patient that has difficulty with technology, maybe one of the things is that you can just help them fill that document. So if I fill this document, you can see right here. Okay, there it goes. It took a little while to load. And when it's loaded, since I don't have all my information or all my fields linked to my database, that is why everything is empty. But if I go into my PDF document and I link the name for my patient link, if I this sex for my patient sex information and any other like phone, address, birthday, once you link that correctly into your PDF version, it will pre-populate it here. So in here, I can just go and, for example, I can put again, Smooth Janice, right? Here, and female, and if it's 83 years old, for example, and then you can keep typing all the rest of information, if they have yes or no, and all that information. Once you have selected and go all the way and finish this document and save it. Okay, thank you, it was saved. You can see that now it also changed to this one is complete. So the system will track which documents have been filled by the patient and which don't. So that will also let them see that. And when you see those documents, you can just also again go here and document view. Since I am an admin, it has a lot of features. So I have to go and view documents. Here it is. It's in my left. As you can see here right now, since I fill it, it says Smooth Yanis, the age, and this time. So I'm just going to drag it a little bit big so you can see it. So once they finish and fill all the PDF documents, you will be able to see those filled documents in here. So that is how you can go and look up that information. Again, you don't have to print them to see them or to fill them. It can everything work electronically. And
Okay.
if you are scanning documents, just at the part is you will do the same, just that your staff, instead of clicking in this document, they will go and add a document or scan a document. So if you have a scanner select, it will let you use a standard paper scanner, and you can stand and attach to this document, to this order, that scan document. And it still let you look for all those documents in the system. Sorry, now that I'm done. Sorry, back to you, Erica.
No, that's all good. Perfect. Any questions again that weren't answered here in the chat? We will respond to those as quickly as possible. Let's see here. Again, I put user group questions at novarad.net. That's the email you'll send your questions to if you have more. Again, thank you for joining us today. All of you that were here for the hour and 50 minutes for this class, I will be emailing you your certificates here within the next week or two. And yeah, again, thanks for joining us, you guys. Have a fabulous Wednesday.